Welcome to the EpicTV Surf Report. Have you seen the footage of John John's alley-oop yet? It's been watched about 800,000 times more than the most popular episode of this show, so chances are you have. But just in case you missed it, here it is one more time. Mind-blowing, right? It sure is. Now I'd like to read you a few paragraphs about the air of all airs, penned by my favorite surf writer, Sean Doherty, from his article, Echoes of the Uberoop, at surfermag.com. Okay, so it turns out leaving the beach yesterday afternoon with 2 heats still to run was not such a smoking hot idea. And your correspondent sits here this afternoon, humbled. He broke 2 golden rules. Never turn your back on the ocean, and never turn your back on John Florence. Yesterday afternoon, I was back at the hotel in Sanur, having beat the traffic, having just filed my post for the day, full of self-congratulation at my endeavor and initiative, and was just contemplating running down for a quick surf when I first heard the commotion. BMOs from the contest site were dropping crew back at the hotel from Karamas, and they were all buzzing as they got out. The buzzing paraphrased thusly: "Holy shit. Oh my God. That was the single greatest thing I've ever seen." That kind of stuff. And much of it coming from the ASP judging panel, who themselves were still in disbelief. Pretty soon the foyer of the hotel was full of people with phones and laptops gorging data, all watching and replaying the same video. They were double checking they hadn't been seeing things. Apparently, I was discovering, in the last heat yesterday, John Florence had pulled an alley-oop of such amplitude and audacity that it dwarfed the one that opened his latest movie, Done. Made it look like a kid's trick. A big old driftin' hanger. He'd even claimed it. A rarity. It was a 10, straight up. The easiest call the judges will make this year. But the score was incidental to the scale of the move itself. And when he backed it up with a 9.8, it was the exclamation point on what had been a momentous day's surfing. Icing, meat cake. Thanks for that, Sean. As usual, you summed up the situation perfectly. But I just have to throw it out there. Don't believe the hype. Or as Todd Richards, one of the most talented men ever to strap on a snowboard, put it, the collective nut the surf industry just blew would populate another planet. Here, though, are a few quotes from some very respectable surfer types from the aptly titled article in Stab magazine by Elliot Struck, "The Highest Alley-Oop Ever Landed," with video evidence of Slater and Double John to help make their point. Tim Curran, the man who's generally credited with bringing the alley-oop to surfing, said this of John's latest: "You know it was awesome because he doesn't claim, ever. And he claimed it even before it was done. It was incredible." Taj Burrow's thoughts on the matter? Yep, hands down the biggest ever done. And what did King Kelly think about the whole thing? "It was super rad," Mr. Slater said. And those were tame compared to some of the superlative-laden descriptions flying around the Twittersphere. It was only normal that JJ's main sponsor Hurley would pump up the propaganda machine. John Florence violated Indonesian airspace with his round 1 alley-oop, easily the biggest ever in competition. Don't know why they deleted that one though. Thanks to Robin with the unpronounceable last name for the retweet. But they left this one up on their Twitter feed. New nicknames people have given John Florence after yesterday. Air Florence 1. The Hawaiian flight attendant. Got any to add? And then there was this masterpiece from the ASP. You've heard about it. You've seen the picture. Now watch the full clip here. At John Florence's 10-point air. Retweeted by Hurley. And fellow Hurley team rider Nat Young was at a loss for words. John is crazy. I don't even know what to say. ESPN being, well, ESPN, put it in sporting terms. Surfing ain't seen nothing like it. John Florence elevates the game. While Surfline was claiming that even Hollywood couldn't have scripted it any better. No excuse not to watch this clip of John Florence's alley-oop from the hashtag Oakley Pro. Should be in a movie. But most people were making comparisons to blasting into outer space. TheckerSurf.com said, "While you were sleeping in your warm, comfy bed, John Florence may have been boosting higher than your dreams." Jack Surfboards tweeted, John Florence is a freak of nature. Barrels, water-hurling turns, and airs that require clearance from NASA." Bradley Gilliland at the Early Surf chimed in, "I'm still flippin' over hashtag John Florence almost touching the moon he got so high. Freaking amazing. Hashtag Oakley Pro." Franck Lacaze from France had this to say, "Is that the first time John's claimed a wave on the world tour? Stratospheric alley-oop equals 10 points. Thanks, and see you later." Then, of course, my favorite internet impresario, not Dane Reynolds, tried to let the helium out of everyone's balloons. Apparently John John landed on the moon yesterday. One small step for John, one giant leap for Johnkind. Hashtag relax. That's right, relax people. Two Tides 3 was already taking a look at the bigger picture, how it would affect pro surfing and all. And with that wave, JJF just made the @ASP legit for another year. Does that change a damn thing? Nope, the ASP is still fucked. For once though, Not Dan Reynolds was actually somewhat on the same wavelength with the crew at Cote's Cube over at Transworld Surf. Transworld Surf put up this photo of Jordy Smith with a big ol' stalefish that saw him through to round 3 of the Oakley Pro Volley, which inspired this tweet from Not Dan Reynolds. Kinda like Jordy's air yesterday more than John John's. Jordy does power carves in the air. Actually, I don't know if using the ASP judging panel to validate my point is such a good move, but according to the old wise men in the tower, John John's alley-oop wasn't even a point better than Jeremy's Super Tube Ride or Ace's Double Death Floater combo. Then again, as Dick Latette said, the judges at ASP must feel a bit silly awarding @Flores Jeremy a 9.17 after seeing that last heat. J-Flow probs shouldn't claim ever again. Ever. And the surfing punter chimed in with this little reminder of judging blunders past. Yeah, Two Tides 3, a 9.63 floater at that. Highest scoring floater since D'Souza Gate. @ASP, hashtag Oakley Volley Pro. Well, surfing punter, in defense of the ASP judging panel, that 9.63 score was actually for 2 floaters. And Surfing Magazine had the judges back. This is @Ace Buckin with the floater of the year. And he backed it up with another death float on the inside section. And this one came from Ace himself. Today was fun, good vibes at Karama's, and yes, I did claim a double death float. What? And Chris Fote couldn't keep himself from driving his double-edged death sword into the debate. Granted, I only watched the highlights, but that surfing makes clear no CT should ever be held at Bell's again. Meanwhile, on the same day, the godfather of the modern air, Christian Fletcher, was wowed by something else entirely.
Oh, snap.
Okay, I admit it. I'm old, so I should buy into the amplitude is everything argument. But I can't help but think that any of John John's recent spin tricks, starting with the frontside 540 stalefish that Tony Hawk handed him $50,000 in a shoebox for recently, are just as worthy of the attention that he's getting now for what is essentially a setup trick in an X Games snowboard run from Shaun White. Just some food for thought. And on that note, thanks for tuning in to the EpicTV Surf Report. And until next time, go big or go home.